good enough you're a politician, and this matter of withdrawal limits, got a lot of Nigerians, to have different opinions about, how elections will be funded, because of the 20,000 naira withdrawal limits per day and 100,000 naira withdrawal limits per week. And election is very expensive. If not for any other thing, you have to mobilize people. You need large amount of money to pay for things. Even the events you're going to hold at these, some of the centers, you have to rent them. You have to rent chairs and all of that. How is this policy actually affecting politicians?
You see, we have to go back to the basics. I recall in 1993 when we had the first almost assessed by everybody to be credible elections. The Social Democratic Party and the NRC election that we organized, the MKO Biola that was annulled, popular June 12 that we've come to know. Money didn't play much of a role. It did not. But that election was adjudged by almost everybody as being credible, fair. So with the new policy in place, I want to believe that the current CBN governor is trying to get Nigerians and the electorate and the politicians back to where we should be. Now, talking about the withdrawal limit of 20,000 naira per week and maybe
per day and 100,000 naira for individuals per week.
I don't see it as a problem to politicians, if you are indeed a politician. Because if you look at the definition of politics, it is an activities that are aimed towards the upgrading of the living standard of a human being.
Before you even get there, because the definition you have just given sounds like a governance definition, but you have to even become before you begin to talk about, how you can make that available for the people. How do you fund the campaigns and, the movement of political activities that will even snowball into you becoming because you have to have money to mobilize for politics?
You see, the electioneering process and campaigns should not be money-based. I'm going to emphasize on that. That is because I am currently running a campaign. It ought not to be money-based.
And you're not spending money?
All what? Of course, you are spending money, but you are not spending that kind of money that you are thinking. Let me even say why we got to where we are. When people see politics and political offices as a do-or-die affair, I must get there at all costs. Therefore, I must do all what I need to do in order to get there. Why can't you simply sell your visions, sell your ideas to the electorate? Let them be the one to decide. You do not need to cajole them with finances, with gift, whether you are credible or not. As long as you have the money to pay, they are ready to go with you. No, that is not politics. That is actually against the developmental stride of what politics brings. Because a man that spends a fortune, maybe selling his house or a house to get to a political office, what do you expect of such a politician? The first thing is to recoup his capital at the expense of public infrastructure to the detriment of the people. So the current policy of CBN, in my own assessment, is to get politicians that thinks that they must get to a political office by all means away from the current dispensation because they do not belong there.
Paul, I don't know how many politicians will agree with that position you have taken.
Very few.
Because, a lot of them have gathered against. In fact, there was even, a question and answer time between the National Assembly and the CBN deputy governors, and so many questions were thrown at them. And if you had to examine the questions that were asked, you would immediately discover that they were not comfortable with the policy. And Governor Siraki Dixon, the former governor of Bayelsa State, Siraki Dixon, is on record as kicking against that policy, not just kicking against it, but vehemently, and saying that it is going to inadvertently affect the political movements of politicians in this particular era. So if he listens to you talk the way you have just talked, what is he going to think about you?
You see, any politician that kicks against the current CBN policy is a failed politician. For example, Akwa Ibom State. I know what will be the reason they are throwing at us. That there is no banking facilities in the interland, in the rural areas.
Is it not a statement of fact?
But who are those responsible? For example, look at Akwa Ibom State. How many, the 31 local government areas we have, how many banking facilities do we have in these local government areas? And who are those responsible? But meanwhile, we have a state house member representing that local government area. We have a federal house member representing that local government area. We have a senator representing that local government area. And we have a governor who is superintending over the state. So what stops you from bringing the banking facilities to your local government? And do not forget, the limit of withdrawal of expenses that we are talking about here has been a law in Nigeria as at far back 2014. So what the CBN is simply doing,
implemented since 2014?
Because it is still the same reason that Nigeria economy is not ripe for the implementation. But until somebody takes a step to force people to do what they need to do, nobody will move. So CBN is simply telling the governors, the senators, the House of Reps, the State House of Assembly, go back to your local government and make life accessible for these people. What does it take to drag a bank to your local government? What does it take to empower people to operate POS in your local government? It doesn't take anything. For example, if such policy had been implemented long before now, you will see the influx of people to the state capital would be less. So, sir, leadership is responsibility. The CBN government is simply telling all of them, rise up to the occasion.
I'm wondering if it is the responsibility of people in government to take banks to localities.
No, they can lobby. They can lobby. For example, in my local government, there are banks. That is because it is very close to the state capital. But if you go to a place like in my local government, you won't find any bank. You go to a place like maybe Isnobolo, you won't find any bank. But what does it take? For example, Isnobolo, that is where almost all the oil companies fluctuate. Why can't the local government chairman or the governor, okay, for example, even have a governor who is a banker, has been a banker, instruct a particular bank, please, I need your presence in this social local government area. I'm going to provide infrastructure. Let life be accessible to these people. It is the responsibility of government. Government has a whole lot to do if they so wish to do.